Good morning. My name is Monique and I'm the Moon Mama. Happy Sunday. How y'all doing today? I feel so good today. Yesterday, me and my son went to the beach and it was so nice to just get in the water together and just ride the ocean swells. The sun was in Cancer, and Cancer is the energy of the moon, and the moon pulls the ocean tides. And so it was a really wonderful day to just be in the experience of that great mother, that great creative potential fluid energy that is ever present and deep and mystical and creative, and just do that with my son. When I was thinking about coming here today, I was wanted to, just consider what could I talk about around motherhood and how significant motherhood really is, and just some of the greatest lessons that I've learned being a mother and being a child because I also had a mother. I still have a mother. She's just on the other side. Um, but the thing that has been really profound, I'm going to share this story, is when my son's father and I split up. I became so aware of what I had inherited from my parents, the tendency towards drama. Um, One of the things that's very important to understand as a woman is that whatever energy we don't master, we pass to our children, and then it's up to them to master. So if if we carry depression or anxiety or trauma, all of that stuff gets passed down genetically to our children, and then those patterns, those energy frequencies become theirs in order for them to then, for your children to be able to heal it. So when my mother and father died, I inherited all the intensity, the drama, the chaos. And really, it's just energy, right? And so if the energy gets mastered through some level of expertise, or some sort of discipline, then it's then that's how that energy then continues to get passed down through the DNA. But if that energy stays, untamed and wild and chaotic, then that's how it gets passed down through the DNA. And when my son's father and I separated, we both had so many wounds when we came together. When we first got married, I remember our first night being in our apartment together, and me and us sitting in a, like, we had like one sofa and a television, and we were watching TV. And I had the vision of us being two 7-year-old children. I was like, oh my God, I've married my wound, and he's married his, and neither one of us have been parented well, and so this is going to be a journey. So nonetheless, 7 years later, after our son was born, we were separating, and I was so full of fear and sad and afraid. I had a child who had Down syndrome. We were splitting up. He was also, my son's father was also sad and afraid and fearful. And it was really interesting. And so soon after we split, he started seeing somebody, um and I remember being so, I was okay that he was seeing somebody, because I didn't want to be in the relationship anymore. But it was hard because we had a child, and my child was bonding with this woman. That was the thing that was hard for me, to like create the space for my child to bond with this woman. And my son would call this woman babe because his father called her babe, and my son was doing what his father did. And I remember feeling like I was going to turn into Godzilla and like just like I would be so infuriated. It was incredible. And I remember at the time I was like, I have to make a choice. I have to make a choice. I have to choose what's going to be best for my son, because otherwise I'm going to continue to impose that cycle of rage and trauma that I had inherited from my mother now onto my son, and that my mother had inherited from her mother that was then passed on to her children, that was now being passed to me. You see, that's the thing about the mother, and the sun is in Cancer right now, and the moon is in Cancer, is understanding that the patterns, the behaviors, the practices, the beliefs, the traumas get passed down from one generation to the next. And for those of us who are living in Black bodies, Black women here in this country, in America, we have trauma that has been undocumented and untold that shows up as depression and not able to bond with intimacy and just all sorts of things that have a short circuit because the energy is so intense that we can't run the frequencies through our brain and through our nervous system and through our wombs and through our bodies so that we can rechannel that energy. And when I was going through this with my son at the time, and my son was the sweetest he can be, and he had, I've shared before that he's had Down syndrome, and he had a speech delay, and he'd just be like, babe, babe, and I was like, oh my God, like I thought I was gonna lose my mind, and I had two girlfriends that I would ask to hold space with me, not at the same time, but like when I would get so angry, and I would call one of them and I would just vent. That motherfucker, da, 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 blah, blah, blah. I would just go off with one of my girlfriends and they would just hold the space with me. And the rule was that they would listen and then they could not move into agreement. They could not be like, yeah, da, da. They had to just hold the space and hold with me while I rolled the roller coaster of my emotions until it came down. And then after it came down, they would ask me, well, what do you need? What can I do for you? And they would help me redirect the energy into a new way. And when I tell you, I am so clear that the place that my son's father and I are in today, 10 years later, is because I did not return that behavior. I didn't give him fire for that behavior. Like I remember there would be times I'd be thinking like, how is it okay that our son is calling this woman babe? How is that okay? How is it okay for him? And I knew, like, I would just look at my son and he was so innocent. Like I knew it didn't have anything to do with anything but my son's joy and his feeling connected to his father and feeling connected to the woman that his father was connected to, and that I had to treat it as such. That if I was going to re-traumatize my child with my trauma that I saw my parents go through, then I was going to create a cycle of terror. So I had to truly just know that I'm going to do the thing that is best for my child. Even though it feels like it is killing me, I'm going to do the thing that is best for my child. And I held it. And, maybe he dated this woman for a couple of years. And then one day their relationship was over. And that was it. And my son has never called another woman babe. And that was that. But I had to rechannel that energy and let it move through my nervous system, rechannel that trauma and give it something else to do. Because as women, we have so much energy and so much power and so much force moving through us, which is why we create children, which is why we build the reality, because we are the channels of the divine. And it's up to us how that energy is channeled. It's up to us how those patterns get created. It's up to us how we then will take the energy and make something with it, or take the energy and let it drag us. And so while the moon is in Cancer and the sun is in Cancer, it's an incredible opportunity for us to see, what is it that we want to give birth to? Like when that experience with my son and his father and the woman that he was dating at the time, what I wanted to give birth to was a new reality for my son, myself, and his father. I didn't want to keep the patterns of trauma and despair and pain active in our family. I wanted them to be neutralized, and it took about 3 years for me to do it. I'm gonna say it took about 3 years for me to do it. but it's completely neutralized now. And my son is 13 and we're good, but it was because I had to make a choice. And so oftentimes as women, we have to make a choice. As the feminine, we have to ask, how are we going to lead? How are we going to set the pattern for, how are we going to set the material pattern, right? For what's to come, because we are the ones that are going to generate what's to come. And so I encourage you today, while this new moon is happening, and we're in the dark of the moon right now, and we are most receptive now. We are most receptive now than we are any other time, really, in the year, while the sun and the moon are in Cancer. And it's just an opportunity to ask yourself, what's next? What's next? And what do you really want? And you have to be where you are. Like you have to create from where you are. You can't create from a future thing. So, when I was going through that experience with my son and his father, I couldn't create like love and harmony, but I could create acceptance. I could be in the space that I was in and go, okay, how can I just accept where I am and know that where I am is exactly where I need to be, and then make the next best choice from here, which was to have my girlfriends help me, channel that energy in a new way. So with that, the new moon is tomorrow. I'll be back again, but be thoughtful today of, as a woman, how you're creating your reality. Start where you are and then think of where you want to be, and then ask what's the next best step. Okay, I'm the Moon Mama. Have a wonderful day. I love you all. You can sign up here in my link tree. You can sign up for natal chart readings, for new moon readings in the profile here of IG. Natal chart readings, you can go visit my website there and sign up for everything that you want to sign up for. And it is my pleasure to be of service to you. Peace and blessings, everyone. Bye-bye.